everyone, Stephanie here, coffee drinker, book lover, and reviewer of many things. And I have read another book off of the reading challenge. And if you've seen my last video, you know it was Once Upon a Broken Heart. So that is what we're going to talk about this video. Okay. So I know it's been a while. But Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber is part of a trilogy series, and it is connected to the I'm gonna say it wrong, Caraval series. I'm gonna read the back of the book for you. I found this one at Target, I believe. Yeah, Target. How far would you go for happily ever after? Uh, Evangeline Fox has always believed in true love and happy endings until she learned that the love of her life will be married to another. Desperate to stop the wedding, Evangeline strikes a deal with a charismatic, immortal Prince of Hearts. But she soon discovers that bargaining with the Prince of Hearts is a dangerous game. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. Then BuzzFeed says an explosive rich fairy tale that takes place inside an intricate world that weaves with fast-paced plotting and intriguing twists. I don't completely agree with that last bit there. The fast-paced plotting. It will be like, yeah, and then it's like, I'm gonna make it. But it also took me a long time to read because I haven't had time to sit down and read. Um, so if you look, it looks like I dropped my book has some water damage. I didn't drop it in the bathtub. I set it down next to a cup that had ice in it, and the ice made condensation, a lot of condensation on the outside of the cup, and made a puddle, and my book just soaked it all up. Fun times, summer. Okay, so I'm gonna read you what's in my little book lover's journal. I tried to keep it short and sweet. This book was hard to write about without spoiling it because it's kind of, my spoiler will come after this, okay? So the title, Once Upon a Broken Heart, is the first book in a series. It's by Stephanie Garber. Its genre is fantasy fiction. Its publisher, or at least the book that I read, was Flatiron Books. It is 103 pages or 10 hours and 3 minutes. I looked that up. I do not know what day I started this book. I didn't write it down. I really need to get better at that. But I finished this book June 11th. The ending just, I was like, I gotta read. I can't right now. I gotta read. Why did I choose this book? Because it was on my 2025 reading challenge, and it sounded interesting whenever I put it on my TBR. So, overall, I gave this book a 4. Um, there were some things I wasn't a big fan of, so I don't know. On Goodreads, this book has a 4.1, and on Audible, it has a 4.4 stars. So, yeah, I fall in the majority, minority, majority. Yeah. Would I recommend this book? Yes. And if you're gonna read the first one, you might as well get the other two because you're gonna want to know what happens. Other books by this author, the Caraval series. There are 4 books in that series, and it is connected to the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. That this book, which has 3 books in it, and I didn't know that they were connected until after I went searching. And the Caraval series is about the Empress and her sister and their story. Which now we do meet them in this book. I don't know if we're gonna meet them in the other 2 books, but we met them in the first book. We met them in this book, Scarlet and Donatella, and you they are very bubbly and charismatic people, and I liked them. I thought they were a little crazy. um, but the Carnival series apparently goes through their life and how they get to where they are. And Once Upon a Broken Heart is about Evangeline and how she gets to where she is. Um, okay, my review. First off, this page has a quote. A good book is an event in my life. I don't know how to say that name. Stindl, I think is how you say it. All right, my review is this book was pretty good for the most part, and I need the second book ASAP. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to like this book. There's a lot of environmental building, and sometimes it felt too much. Also, I thought Evangeline would end up with Jax because it seemed obvious that there was something. Um, Evangeline and Luke only had ever been with each other, and so I'm kind of happy that their relationship is not only the focus of this book. Marisol could have been a great sister. We're gonna talk more. Oh, and I didn't see the pillar coming, and I literally out loud was like, "What?" that's what that's what I wrote. Um, let's go back to this. Go back over here. Okay, so now we're in the spoilery bit of my video, and I'm gonna spoil things. So her and Luke had only ever been together, and suddenly he has proposed to her sister. And my first thought was, you don't know what he does when he's not with you. um, but when we learn more about that situation, he won't even look at Evangeline. He won't talk to her. He like avoids her at all costs. And I feel like if they were in a relationship and then all of a sudden he was like proposing to her sister, he would have been like, "Look, this is what happened." Because they're going to be in-laws now. Like you're going to have to deal with each other. Um so she goes looking for the fate. Oh, the real reason why I picked up this book. Look, it's got a map. I love maps in books. They're so interesting. There are some boobs. You can't see them from here. But, yeah. Um, anyway, little moon has a face. So so where do I wanna start? I need to start tabbing the books. Like, this is what happened. Okay, so first off, this book is broken up into parts. You have The Tale of Evangeline Fox. You Part 2, The Magnificent North. I think the last one is, yeah, Part 3 is Chaos. Was named. I don't think there is, I think that's it. Yes. Okay. So, there is a clipping. You find out that the Fates church has gone, the door for it has gone missing, and nobody can go in and pray to the Fates. Um, you don't know who the Fates are. You don't know anything about them until later. Later you find out that they were cast out, and you only knew about them. No one had ever really met them, but you knew about them because they were made into playing cards. And so she finds the door whenever the day of the wedding for Marisol and Luke. And up until this point, it's the beginning of the book. She thinks that her stepmom had something to do with it because her stepmom is a terrible person. Um, and so she finds a door that looks like it should belong to a church, and she pulls on it and it won't come open, and she says, "Please, oh please open." And it opens. And that is where the story begins. So as she walks into the church, it's kind of old and run down, and she sees a guy tearing out his clothes in the corner. She keeps walking, and she leans down and prays to the Prince of Hearts, also known as Jax. And the guy that was tearing his clothes up in the back, he's Jax. And so she's like, please, please, just stop the wedding. I know that, he's under a curse. He's been, expelled or something. And he's like, yeah, okay. And so he's like, I I will. I will. As long as you do something for me. And she's like, what do you want? And he's like, not me. Like, my kiss would kill you. It'd be pointless. Um, he starts out. He like questions her. He's like, "Have you ever kissed anyone else?" And she's like, "No, I only ever want to kiss Luke." And he's like, "Well, maybe you need to explore some. So, you're gonna kiss 3 people for me. Um, and then I'll help you with your happily ever after. I'll stop the wedding." And she's like, "Okay, deal. Wait, no one can die." And he's like, "Okay." He turns him to stone. And so she realizes, like, they're in the church. The wedding is taking place somewhere else, and she realizes the glint in his eye was not okay before he like disappeared. And so she takes off running to try and catch him. And she gets to the wedding where the wedding is, and everyone is statues. There's a goblet. Um my eyebrow has a bruise on it. So there's a goblet, and it's like, if you drink from this, then everyone will turn back to humans and you'll be stoned. And she drinks. And later, she's brought back, and you find out that while she was stoned, her stepmother sold off all of the stuff because her dad passed away before all of this, and she was willed his book shops and his curiosity shops, and her stepmom sold all of it. And then when there was word that she was going to be coming back to life because she thought she was dead, she's like, thank goodness I'm rid of her. She put an ad in the paper for suitors for her. Girl hasn't even eaten yet, and people are already like, hey, hey, geez, rude. Give me time to eat my cake. But when she comes out of it, she meets a fate called Poison. He's a character too. I like him. Um, and he warns her, stay away from Jax. You're gonna feel the draw to him, but stay away from him. So through this whole book, things happen to draw them together. She thinks because most of the fates were exiled while she was gone. There was I can't remember what they called it, but like a week where the fates ran wild and helped people and ruined things. And you find out that while she was stoned, Luke and Marisol tried to get married again, and he was mauled by a wolf. What? Mauled by a wolf. There were no wolves in this area. um and you find out that when she finds out that the shops are not hers anymore, she's like banging on the doors, and she's having a tantrum in the middle of the road, and a police officer comes up and he's like, hey, stop that. And she's like, but this was my place, 6 months ago. And he's like, oh, you're her. And he's fiddling with his pocket, and he pulls out a application, or he pulls out the thing from the paper, the article from the paper. And he's like, how do I get an application? He's like, an application for what? He's like, to court you. And she's like, what? And so she reads it, throws it to the ground, and says, I'm not accepting. And she takes off running. And as she gets to the house, there's a long line of men waiting to meet with her. And she's like, oh, I am not stone anymore, but I have found out recently that my kiss will turn anyone to stone. And everyone disperses for their own safety. And she's like, and then her stepmother is very upset about that and threatens her and pretty much threatens to turn her out because she's an orphan. And she's like, you can't do that because the person who writes the paper, the art, in the paper, will tell people that you're getting rid of a hero. And she's like, he won't always be interested in you. And then later, Marisol brings her mail, and she's like, this looked important, and I didn't want Mom to get it. And when she opens it, it is a letter from the Empress asking to meet with her. And the Empress is from the Caraval series, and I feel like I'm going to have to read that series too. It'll have to go on my list. They sit down, and Donatella, her younger sister, is there, and kind of spills the beans of why she's there, and is like, well, she's gonna die if she just sits there worrying about what we're here about. Jeez, just get to the chase. And they had set up the garden and had a whole bunch of different foods, and there's like butterflies fluttering around, and um music is playing, and like it is a magical, like I actually enjoyed the description, although it did get a little long. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes things are like moving, and then it's like, and we're stuck on the details now. Okay, come on. Let's move along. Sometimes I felt like 1 minute we're the person in the book and we're just going about life, and then all of a sudden she's we're no longer someone who's been living here. All of a sudden we're a tourist. It's like, ooh, look at that building over there. Oh, look at that window arch. Like, ooh, look at the tree over there. Okay, can we just get on with the story? I want to know more. Um, and they want to send her north because her mom was from the north and her dad was from the south. And her dad had we find out the love story. Um, her parents are always told her, it was love at first sound. Because dad heard her mom singing, and then like the well was connected. The after discussion of what Evangeline would need and all of that stuff, Evangeline's like, can I bring my stepsister, not my stepmom, my stepsister, to this ball with me? And they're like, oh, why didn't we think of that? And they had already told like the guy who writes in the paper to find a way to make it so Evangeline kiss doesn't turn people to stone, and that her sister, who is being known as the Cursed Bride, is not cursed. Which thanks. Which that they can only do so much. It's a gossip brag. So um and they go north, and Marisol and Evangeline have a great bonding on the boat, the ship, for the months on ship. And oh, back up. Before they go, Evangeline goes to tell Marisol the good news. And before she can knock on the door to to tell the news, she can overhear her stepmom being really rude and mean and being like, no wonder you can't get a husband, even if they can get past this um, theory that you're cursed. Look at you, you're pitiful, and like putting her down and calling her names. And Evangeline is like fed up with hearing it, and she slams the door open and she's like, I have news. And she's convinced that Marisol is good and only has issues because of her stepmom, or of Marisol's mom. And so they have a great time on the boat, and when they get to the north, oh, Evangeline has special hair. No one else has this hair. It's like a rose gold color. It's a rose gold color. And her stepmom's always like, you need to dye it, and nobody wants a weirdo and stuff like that. And she anyway, so they get to the north, and the first thing that happens is they see a dragon, a little tiny dragon. And she's like, oh. Also, you have to know that any stories from the north get twisted. So no one knows the truth, and sometimes there are multiple tellings of a story because they don't know, so they just make stuff up. And before they go to the north, Evangeline is talking to the empress and the princess or whatever, and she's like, "So, can you tell me, have you ever met the prince from the north?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're both like, "Yeah, huh?" And she's like, "Oh, can you tell me about him?" And they're like, "He's handsome?" And she's like, "Okay." Like, because she knows, because her mom was from the north, so she knows that sometimes things are, like, cursed, so you can't even talk about them. And so they're like, "We do know. We know personally, but we can't make it into words." Um, and she's just like, and so, one of the things that was in one of the stories her mom tells her is dragons, and, she's always wanted to see a dragon, and so she was very excited about that, and then somebody has the gossip rag for up there, and, you know, her and her sister are like, "Oh, let's find out what they say up here." Turns out the person who writes in the north is cousins with the person who writes in the south, so they have the same last name. Um, Interesting. And, so when they're like, "Oh, we'll take one," from the person who's selling it, and she's like, "You can have it for free. You're the girl. You're her, right?" And she's like, and takes the paper, and sure enough, she's in the paper because she's one of the prince's candidates for a marriage. Up north, you have to be married to become king or queen. In the south, it's a title that's passed to you or that you earned. I'm not completely sure, but something along that line. And yeah. So Evangeline goes to the first dinner. It's a like a meet and greet type thing before the ball. And this ball will last until the prince finds a princess or finds someone to marry. And she's like, there is no way it's gonna be me. I am a poor orphan girl. Like, and she's not poor, but she runs a bookshop. She now only has one bookshop that she got back somehow. Um, Darn stepmother. And so she has no money to her name. So she's like, it's not gonna be me. But in the paper, she's like the one that the person in the paper is betting on. She's like, she's gonna be it because she's different and new and never been met before, and interesting. And so she goes to this meet and greet, and everyone kind of shuns her. She like walks in, and they're some of the girls are huddled in little packs because they know each other from before. And when she goes walking towards them, they're all like, and so she sees one girl off by herself. And so she's like, I'm just gonna go stand next to her. And so she grabs a glass of punch, two glasses of punch, and she walks over to her and holds the glass out. And the girl is like, "Do you expect me to drink that?" And she goes, "Do you think I poisoned it?" And she takes a drink of both cups. I was like, "Do you want one?" And the girl, her name, we end up finding out her name's Lala. She's like, "Well, one of those could be the poison, and one of those could be the antidote, and then you took a drink of both of them, so you have both of them. So if it was poison, it wouldn't harm you." And she goes, "Why would I do that?" And Lala says, "It's what I would do." And I was like, I like this girl. Spunky, sassy, mysterious. And so they start talking, and they're talking about, how all this, and Lala has known the prince and his family forever because they're friends. And she's like, also, you came in looking too low. And she goes, what? And Lala goes, the prince is a little higher. And so Evangeline looks up and there's a tree, and the prince is like lounging in the tree getting his portrait painted. And she goes, oh. And so Lala tells them about how, he was like this when they were kids also. He's always liked to get his picture painted or his portrait painted. And his brother always stopped it from happening. And it's just, they have a great conversation. And I'm like, yeah. And then the person who writes the for the magazine comes in, and oh, first Jax comes in, and Evangeline is like, oh, and Lala's like, oh, I see. Oh, I've seen you. You've caught. Your eye has been caught by Jax. Um, he's best friends with the prince, and she's like, oh, I just thought I recognized him. And she's like, Trent, don't notice me, don't notice me, don't notice me, kind of. And then the newspaper or magazine person comes in, and he calls out, Evangeline, Lala, I want to have a word with you. And Evangeline's like, oh, I don't want to have a word with them. And Lala's like, hurry, run, I'll say that I threatened you. And she's like, go, or I will threaten you. I like the publicity. And so Evangeline's running off, and she runs right into Jax, who pretends like he's kissing her and tells her that she has to kiss the prince tonight or she's gonna die. Because that's one of the people he wants her to kiss. And the prince falls for her. It is so cute. I was like, yeah. And then you find out he's actually under a love spell. And she's like, it was, to me, this is gross. Before she kisses anyone, Jax always pricks his finger and then rubs his blood on her lips. And then he says, don't lick my blood because, you'll be under the spell. But really, it's not needed. He just did that to toy with her. He can control people by wanting them to want something, or like, I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, so Evangeline and Marisol move to the castle, and the prince is like disgustingly obsessed with her. I was like, dude, how does no one know that he's not under a spell? Like, they just met. So they get married. So right before they get married, Jax has her kiss this old woman on the cheek so that she'll let her into the vault to see an archway that Jax wants open, but he hasn't told her that yet. And she just needed a book. And once they're inside the vault and they're like the arch there, she's told that only the blood of this, the family that has the arch can open the arch or something like that. And she finds out as she walks through the archway, the arch is like, you could have opened us. And she's like, what? And she starts to put together that Jax needs her. And so she starts asking questions. And um the woman that she kissed on the cheek, when she asks the question, she asks a question about something, and this woman is like possessed and starts going crazy and trying to kill Evangeline, and Jax hits her over the head with a rock. He's like, and they get out of there. And then she gets married, and the night of her wedding day, she's supposed to be meeting Apollo, her new husband, and to do what married people do to, yeah. Anyway, and she runs to Jack. She's like, you gotta break the spell. I don't want to start my marriage like this, and I want him to like me for me. And they've hung out, so like he might actually like her for her, but we don't know. And he's like, okay, fine, and he like pricks his finger and rubs the. He's like in a bad mood. And when she gets up there, Apollo is all greased up and laying out on the bed, and she's like, I'm gonna need a drink first. And so she goes over to the wine and she like downs a glass, and she's like, it tastes salty, like not great. But she's like, I don't want to be drunk. I just want to be like, because. And so she's like, okay. And they start kissing. And all of a sudden he's like, what is, and he falls over. And she starts crying, and like tears are just going. She's like, she didn't know why she was crying. She's like, this is not normal. And she calls for help. And when they come in, they accuse her of killing him. And she's dragged off, and she's still crying. And they tie her to a chair. And then Jax comes in, and he's like, I've got it from here. And like dismisses like using his willpower. That's what it is, willpower. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. He tells Evangeline, he's like, you're happy to see me. But she doesn't stop crying. And he goes, how long have you been crying? She's like, my husband just died. What do you mean? And there's like a puddle on the floor. And she's like, I can't stop. And he's like, oh God. And so he like unties her, throws a cape over her, carries her. He pretty much kidnaps her. He doesn't tell anyone where he's taken her. And they end up at Lala's house, and you find out she's a fate too. And I was like, oh, the story. Um, Super interesting. I really enjoyed that part. And Lala messes with Jax. It's great. So he's like, look, and she's like, how long has this been going on? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, don't worry, I have an antidote. And so she makes up an antidote, and they feed it to Evangeline, and he's like, so she's good now. He goes, oh no, you have to hold her for 24 hours before. And in Evangeline's mind, she's like, oh, I like her. I want to read it. It's great. As Jax is taking her to Lala's house, he's like, don't start giving up. Giving up makes the poison work faster. And so they get there, and the door opens, and you hear Lala. She's like, Jack, in fate's name. And he pulls the cloak off of Evangeline, and he's like, she needs saving now. And the girl's like, what have you done? Like, did you do this? She's like accusing him. And he's like, I think we both know this isn't my doing. And so she gets him inside, and she's like, if you stop holding her, she might slip away. Try to comfort her while I put together the antidote. Pretend like she's someone you care for. And Jack's arms tense around Evangeline. He's not going to let go of her. But the world became a little bit warmer as they got to the crackling fire. She didn't care how Jax held her. Didn't care. Oh, as long as they were heading towards the warmth. But she couldn't keep her eyes open. So he's holding her on her. He's sitting in front of the fire, holding her on his lap, and he says, "There are much better ways to die than this, little fox." And she stammers out, "Your attempts at comfort are tragic." And he's like, "Yes, but you're still alive." um, so then Lala comes back. I'm just skipping through. Lala comes back and, is like, "Here, feed her these, feed her this." And he does. And the girl said, or Lala says, "The antidote's working. Good." And he says, "Does that mean I can let go of her?" And Evangeline's like, "Yes." And the girl says at the same time, "Not unless you want her to die. She needs close physical contact for at least a full day to take, for the cure to take." Evangeline had the feeling that the girl was toying with Jack. She had to be toying with him. And even if she weren't, Evangeline couldn't imagine that Jax would hold on to her or anyone else for that length of time. And yet he made no movement to release her. He held on to her as if she were a grudge, his body rigid and tense, as if he really didn't want her there, and yet his arms were tight around her, as though he had no intention of ever letting her go. That happens, and when she comes to, they find out they need to find who the real killer is, because already there are paper, like in the paper, it says that Evangeline is wanted, alive, because the new prince, the prince's brother, the one she was married to's brother, is so worried. And she's like, "Yeah, right, okay." Or she believes it, and Jax is like, "No, that's not what's gonna happen." No. And then they decide, or Jax decides that they have to go see Chaos, and Lala's like, "No, you can't go see him." And they are gonna go see him. They do go see him. And before they go, Lala dresses Evangeline. She puts powder in Evangeline's hair so her hair is darker, and she puts her in like almost no clothes. A corset and a shorter skirt and the cape that attaches to the corset. And I bet she looks super cute. But she's like, "Should I be going? Chaos is a vampire. Should I be going showing all of this skin?" She's like, "Yeah, you'll be fine." And when they go back out, Jax is reading a book of spells. And Evangeline said, "Hey, my stepsister has the same book." And he goes, "What?" And Lala goes, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, they're both like, "This is a very, very dangerous book. It's a spell book." And she's like, "No, it's a cookbook." And they're like, "No, it's a spell book." And then you find out that her sister has a book of spells. And everyone has been telling her to stay away from her stepsister. So they go talk to Chaos at nighttime. And it just so happens to be the night where a bunch of fledglings are being turned. And after a long talk, they have to escape through the room that has all of the fledglings chained in cages to the ceiling. And as she's going by one of the cages, someone shouts out, "Evangeline! Is that you?" Can you guess who it is? It's Luke, which I totally didn't see coming. I was like, "Oh, he's out of this story," but, I guess not. Because as we're talking to Luke, he explains that he never wanted to marry Marisol and that she must have cursed him because the last thing he remembers is her helping him take his coat off one day when he came to see Evangeline. And when the fingers brushed his neck, all of a sudden he could only think about Marisol and only do what she said. So, yeah. Of course, he's in the process of becoming a vampire. And if he doesn't feed before morning, he is not going to be a vampire and he'll probably get killed. But she unlocks his cage because he's like, I don't want to be a vampire. You just take me out of here and then I can turn back to human. Gullible is what Evangeline is. Gullible. I would not. I don't think I would. And Jax is like, it's a trick. He's using whatever he can to get out of that cage. Don't do it. And she's like, no, I love him. And so she breaks open, or she hands him the sword to get himself out. And Evangeline and Jax start to walk away, and you hear, or they hear him get out of the cage really fast. And he says, I'm sorry, Evangeline. And lunges towards her. Jax gets in front of her and gets bit. And he breaks his neck. My favorite line. Evangeline's like, you killed him. And he's like, no, he bit me. I broke his neck. He's a vampire. That won't kill him. An eye for an eye. And so they're trying to get out of there. Jax kind of turns into a vampire for a little bit. And they have a moment in the tombs. They get out of Chaos's lair. But Jax is turning and he's trying to fight not biting her. And so she's quick thinking, she's like this, and this, and they find a mausoleum that has a lock, and she asks it nicely. She gives it some of her blood, and it opens, and he's like, ah, magic. Anyway, and he's in there, and she's out there, and she's trying to distract him by asking him questions, and then he's like, enough about me, tell me about you. And they have this nice little moment of telling each other's lives, and then he gets over, he can't control himself anymore, and he breaks out and he's gonna bite her. And finally she's like, but you need me. And he's fighting himself, trying not to bite her, like he's got her pinned against the wall. He's messing with her other ways too. And then the sun comes up and his control takes back over and he goes back to being himself. And you're like, oh, but then he gets really tired and he's like, keeps falling asleep, standing, walking. And she's trying to find Lala's place, but she can't find it. And so all of a sudden she starts hearing this bell ringing. So she follows the bell and gets him into this library house place. And it turns out to be his place, which is probably why it was ringing. And was like, oh, they're gonna have a happy. Is she gonna be his one true love? Because he has one true love, but we just found out that someone else was his true love. But I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you that. You'll have to read the book. And she stabbed him in the heart. I don't know if it was literal or if it was figurative. Yeah, stabbed him, and that's why he's in the north. and she's still in the South. And um, Evangeline goes through all of the books and finds a truth spell. And she's convinced, and so is the papers, that because Marisol is now engaged to the second prince, and they're supposed to be wed like the next day, like it's gonna be a fast wedding. And Evangeline's like, she probably put him under the spell too. I gotta go stop this and tell them that I'm not the killer. And so Jax is still passed out. She can't get him to wake up, so she writes him a note being like, "Hey, I think I know who the murderer is. I'm pretty sure it was my sister." And all of that's, all of this stuff. And she's like, if I'm not back after dawn, be worried. I'm probably, something's bad happened. So she sneaks back into the castle and she leaves the potion that she made in the prince, I can't remember, Tiberius, I think is his name. Leaves it with his alcohols in his room, and she's trying to sneak back out, and her stepsister shows up, and her stepsister's like, "Hurry into my room," and like, the guards are coming, they're right behind me. And so Evangeline's like, maybe I was wrong. So she goes in there, and her sister is like, "I'm so sorry," and all this stuff, and confesses about Luke and all of that stuff. And she's like, Evangeline's like, "Oh, I have a confession too. Um, I'm the reason that your first wedding was turned to stone." And Marisol doesn't take that very well, and she calls for the guards. The guards come, and Prince Tiberius comes and locks her in his room, and he is like enraged, and he like smashes his drinks, and the only one that didn't get smashed is the potion. It fell over, and he picks it up, or he dismisses everyone, all the guards that came in there with him. He's like, "I can handle this." And one of the guards is like, "Sir, that's, not advised. You're with a fugitive. It's dangerous." And he turns and he's like, "Do you think I can't handle a little girl who's tied up to a chair?" And she's like, "A little rude." And so they all leave, and he goes over and he picks up the bottle that's left, because I think he's gonna like smash it into the fireplace or something. And he looks at it, and he's like, "These, when I'm king, these are not gonna be allowed." And he opens it, but then he opens it and he takes a drink. And that's what the one of the properties of the potion is. You want to drink it, like it calls to your inner self, I guess. And so he takes a drink, and he just he's talking to her, and he keeps taking swigs of this, and then she starts asking questions. And her, like, after finding out a whole bunch of stuff, she's like, um your brother never, your brother loved you, and you loved your brother, and he wouldn't want you to kill his wife, and you should call in a guard and let them do it. Tell them my crimes and let them take me out. I don't want the death, this on your hands." And he's like, "Fine." And so he's gonna call the guards back in. He calls them back in, and he's trying to tell them a lie. He's trying to tell them that she killed his brother and that she confessed. But he can't do it because the potion won't allow you to tell any lies for a certain amount of time. It also breaks any curses or spells that you might be under. So He's trying to tell them. This is the part that I was like, "What?" He's trying to tell them that she's not a good person. He keeps she 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 she's cursed me. And you don't realize the she that he means in that part until later. And then finally the one of the guards is like, "What's going on with you? What's going on?" And Evangeline's like, "I gave him a truth serum. He can't tell you a lie. He wants to tell you that I murdered his brother, but I didn't, and he knows that I didn't, and he told me that he knows that I didn't, but he still wants me dead." And the someone asks the prince a question, and he's like, "She didn't do it. I did." And I was like, "What?" Um, and he says he didn't mean to. That the tear he put the bottle of wine that caused her to have all the tears, and that it was only supposed to work on females. Here's my thing. He thinks that he killed his brother. I don't think that he killed his brother. I think somebody else killed his brother. Anyway, and so the guards are like, immediately they untie Evangeline because she is legally in charge now because he is treasonous because he just admitted to killing his brother. And so they take they're taking him out of the room. And as they're going past Marisol's room, he's like, "And get her out of, my last request is that you remove her from the castle. She's, no, I don't want to see her ever again." And Evangeline's like, "Okay," because Marisol's spell had broken. He was under her spell. That's what the "she cursed me" had to have been about. Um, and so that happened. I was like, "What?" And then you find out that Apollo, the other prince, might not be dead. And then Evangeline starts thinking of all of the stuff that she's found out in the last 24 hours. And she's like, maybe Jax is a bad person. And so she won't see him, even though they have this communication thing in their mind. He, his voice doesn't work on her. Um, like his willpower doesn't work on her. And we don't know anything else because the way it ends, she has him escorted from the castle and she writes herself a note of all the things that have happened that she's put together in case she has to talk to Jax person to person again. And that's how this book ends. And I was like, dang it, I need the second book. I need second book. Oh yeah, and don't mind my little bend there. It fell off the arm of the couch. Very sad. Um so the Ballad of Never After is the second book, and there is a little beginning part for that in here, and I didn't read it because I don't want to get a chapter in and want to keep reading, and I don't have the book. So yeah, that's a good book. It's a good book. Like I said, there are some parts when I'm just like, oh my gosh, can we get to the good stuff? But I know we need the boring, slow parts to be interested in the good stuff. Um, so that's my take on Once Upon a Broken Heart. And let me know, have you read this book before? Did you like it? And have you read the rest of the books? Will I like the second book? Should I read Carnival? Carnival? There's no N, not Carnival. Um, the next physical book that I'm gonna read is The House on Hound Hill. This book, because I have it in physical form. I don't know for sure what I'm gonna listen to yet off of here. I I really want to read 7 Days in June because it's June and it'd be nice to read something that's for this time of year. Um, but if I can't get a hold of that book, I might find another book that I can read. I don't know. I am reading. I'm gonna read Nightmares by Jason Segel, and I'm reading Lightning Girl. So that's what I have coming up. I don't know what else to talk about right now. I'm gonna be my kids back there. I'm gonna be trying to get through these books, and I'm gonna search through all of the things that I can to see if I can find these books in the library or whatever, but I might have to order some of them, so it might be a while. I kind of want to do a video talking about the homeschool year coming up. Not sure if I'm going to do that yet. It's a lot to go through. But if you're interested in that, let me know. If you got this far, tell me you got through the whole video. They're like, yeah, I made it. I know it's a lot. I'm sorry. There's so much I wish I could have an actual conversation about this book, but I don't know anyone else who's read this book. And so I'm just like, ah, um that's that's life. Um yeah, let me know what you're reading in the comment section and give me a thumbs up if you like this video and subscribe. If you're not sure if you want to subscribe, you can click my face. It'll be down here and it'll take you to my channel. You can check out my other videos. I do mostly book videos. Sometimes I do Nancy Drew game videos, and I will randomly do um, review videos and update videos. And yeah, if you want to be a part of my reading challenge, you can get these pages that have the lists on them in the description. They're Google Docs. They're Google Docs, so all you have to do is print it out, or I think you might be able to save it to your Google Doc, and then you can do the check marks there. I like to check off and highlight. I check it when I have it and then highlight it when I've read it. That's just me. That's it. I hope you like this video, and share this video because sharing is caring, and someone else might want to know about this video. I will see you on my next video. Bye.